So welcome everybody. And tonight we're talking about the chakras. What are the chakras? How do they work? What are we doing with them? Why is it so important? All of this is in the book that I wrote. I wrote 2 books on them. There's the basic one that's more of a pocket-sized book that you can carry with you everywhere. And then there's the nice coffee table hardcover version that we just published last December. And we're working on the translation now. So the chakras, what are they? Chakras are like the heart inside your body. So they pump energy throughout your body. So your heart pumps the blood, right? So the blood is carrying the oxygen and the nutrients that your physical body needs to survive every day. However, the chakras distribute the energy not just to your physical body, but also to your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. So we're much bigger than we are in physical shape. And all of this space is filled with energy. So it's important. As you know, if your heart stops pumping, then you die. So if one of your chakras stops pumping energy throughout your bodies, then what happens is the part of that chakra in your body is no longer getting the energy it needs to be active and do what it's supposed to be doing. And so we need to have open chakras that are circulating energy. Now, there's 2 things that can happen to, well, I guess 3 things. They can be healthy and everything is going fine, or then they get blocked. They get blocked because of fears or because of anxiety or because of issues that you're having, or they're overactive. They're overly used and so require more energy because they're being used constantly or a lot. We'll go through each one of the chakras and I'll give you some examples of that. So this beautiful illustration here, we're going to start with the chakra here. This is called the base chakra. Now, a lot of you out there are functioning on a 7 chakra system. I have studied the ancient Egyptian wisdom, and they're going along with a 13 chakra system instead. Is one better than the other? It's just that in the 7 chakra system, they kind of clump some of the chakras together, and you lose the meaning of that chakra and why. What's the purpose of it, and why should you feed it energy? And so the base chakra is your foundation. That is where you build yourself in order energetically to function. So the base chakra relates to the family, relates to your values, relates to your sense of security and your finances. How do you recognize that maybe your base chakra might be blocked? One of the things is that you have trouble with finances. You have trouble being on time. You're not connected to your presence on earth. So you're aloof or you're late or you have difficulty being able to function in the 3rd dimensional world. And this is why it's your base. It's very, very important. So the things that can be blocking the chakras will relate to where your base was built. So we're talking about your formative years of 0 to 25. If while you were a child, you were afraid at the end of the month because you didn't know if you're going to get kicked out of your apartment or if you're going to have a place to live or something to eat when you get home from school, these fears starts building up and start affecting the function of your chakra, right? So it's a lot like a physical injury. If you're doing something and you're hurting your feet, for example, you twist your feet, but you keep walking on it, you're not icing it, it swells, and it causes more and more issues. If it's not looked after properly, this is something that you will suffer from for the rest of your lifetime until you do proper physio and you do proper rehabilitation. It's the same thing for the chakras. If your chakras have been blocked for a very long time, then it's clear to assume that you're going to need to fix the overlying problem that started from the beginning and clear all the stuff out so that your chakra is clear and functioning again. The root chakra in the Egyptian system is actually based on your feet. Now, the root chakra is the one that anchors you to your presence on earth. Now, if you haven't watched my videos before, it's important to remember you are a divine being. You are a soul who is coming to experience different challenges in this life on earth, in this third dimensional body that you can touch and feel, and so that you can learn and make better choices. And so this anchoring to this third dimension is very, very important, because you cannot just be completely spaced out. If you're completely spaced out, meditating all the time, not connecting with people, isolating yourself, during that time, you can be feeling very spiritual, yes, but not accomplishing what you came to do here on earth, which is anchoring that spirituality into this dimension. And so the root chakra are in your feet. You will notice oftentimes elderly people have trouble walking. And one of those particular reasons is that their feet, instead of laying flat on the ground, their toes start to curl. And so they don't have as much support. But it's not it's not just old age. It's their inability to find their rightful place in this world. A lot of the people that I talked with and that I work with and that come to the workshops that are retired are questioning their proper place in this world. A lot of the people are putting their elderly parents in homes, and they're isolating them. They're no longer part of your daily life. And so these people are still alive. They still have feelings, and they're not feeling like they can contribute. From a shamanic point of view, when we lived in a community, elders were helping the raising the young, because they're quieter, they're more peaceful, they've learned things, they have more patience, and they were of use. They never got ostracized and left somewhere in the forest to come be visited once a week or once a month, or in some cases never. We have lost touch with this particular wisdom that's available to us, and that is we're no longer partaking of it. We're no longer valuing what their worth is in our lives. I had someone come, she's like, well, I can't help my kids anymore, and I'm not strong anymore, so I can't do chores. I said, perhaps your role has changed, and if you can determine your role now within your physical ability, then you can realize you're still of value, you're still important, you still matter. And so we need to be very aware of how we're anchoring our presence on earth, and continue as we age and we grow. Our value is still high, but different. So yes, she can't help paint a room, but she can offer the wisdom, and she can offer a listening ear, and she can offer her patience, and she can guide us in through our daily living. Times have changed. We live life very differently than we did 100 years ago. My aunt just celebrated her 99th birthday on September 4. She's obviously a lot quieter. She doesn't have a lot of physical strength, but talking to this woman is still valuable. Learning to listen to what they learned during their lifetime. Even though their life has changed, we think we're very similar still. We still have the same anxieties. We still have the same fears. We still go through the same traumas. And on an emotional and on a mental level, we are the same. We do things differently, but we have a lot to learn from these elderly people, these elders that are wise and have learned. So if you have your feet, your root chakras that are not anchored properly, then you have difficulty managing the third dimensional world. So we're talking about bills, returning phone calls, keeping track of groceries, making food, all of those things that seem to distract us from an addiction of social media and videos. People come and talk to me and they say, well, that's a lot of homework you're telling us to do. There's a lot of reading you're asking us to do, and I don't have time. And then I said, okay, well, monitor how much TV time and how much social media and phone and games you're playing, and reduce that by half, and you'll find all the time in the world to do the reading, to do the research, to do the self-introspection, and to work on yourself and restore yourself to a good health. So that's all in the root chakra. I won't talk about the legs, just because the legs are also part of karma system. So that's going to be for a whole other podcast. The next one, the next chakra, is the sacral chakra. So roughly, imagine that being behind your belly button or around that area. Also, a chakra is a third dimensional thing and not simply just a disc, right? So when we look at an image, this is a two-dimensional image. We can't draw a ball. It's a third dimensional thing, just like your heart, it's pumping. And so it's located at the center of your body in the different areas. And this one is around behind your belly button. Now, how big is a chakra, right? A chakra can be as small or as big as the energy that's flowing through it. So we can have the size of a golf ball to the size of a basketball. And then you're going to say, well, I'm not that big. The basketball would extend beyond my physical body. Yes, that's right. Because you yourself, who you are, extends beyond the physical body, right? So you have a layer of energy, and that's fairly close to your skin. We call that the etheric body. And a little higher up, we have the emotional body. So now imagine yourself inside of a Michelin kind of, or Pillsbury boy. You're a lot bigger. You just don't see it. If you work with energy work, with Reiki and things like that, they will work on those different bodies of yours. And that's why they don't need to physically touch you to be able to access your energy, because your energy goes beyond your body. So as the same way, a chakra can expand beyond your physical body if it's full of energy and the energy is circulating fine. And so the sacral chakra, located behind your belly button, that one is a chakra based on relationships, also appetites and desire. It's a great center of emotional energy. What do we mean by that? It's not just about relationship. People think relationship, they think right away your life partner, right? But it's as much as the taxi driver, the bus driver, the lady at the till when you checked out, all of those people that you meet, yet you make an eye contact with, that you communicate with, that you work with, that you live with, are all relationships. Animals are part of relationships. And all of those links, those energy, those ties, those links that you have with these other people all stem from your sacral chakra. Your appetites and your desires also emanate from there. Now, for men and women, the sexual center is different. A man's sexual center is in the base chakra, right, where his organs are. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say on these videos. And then for women, it's the uterus. So we view sexuality completely differently. The function of sexuality in a man is to reproduce, because that's something that they have since the caveman ages, right? In order to survive, you had to make children. But women, in order for the child to survive, had to establish a relationship with this child. And so they view sexuality differently, because the energy center is located there, because it's not just about sexuality. It's also about making sure that this child will live and survive. And so that energy is located in the sacral chakra. And thus stem the appetites. Appetites is not just about food. Your appetites, or your passion, is a better word I find to describe it, is where that lies. And so your passion is usually something, if you're passionate about it, you'll want to share it. You'll want to establish it around your community. You'll want to give in exchange what you have to give. And in the same way, you can crave assistance or help. And so this center of relationship is about more than just one person. It's about your entire world. How big or small your world is about you. You need to realize just how many people you may meet in a day, how many interactions you have, and what those interactions look like. So, if you are able to look people in the eye, if you're able to say hi to people, I happen to live in Drumheller, Alberta, and here people will strike a conversation with you in the sidewalk. You've never met them before, you don't know them from anywhere, and they'll comment on something, and a conversation will start. It's a very healthy way to interact. However, when you're in a big city like Vancouver or Montreal or any big cities in the world, you become more invisible. And people are looking at their phone more than looking at anything else. And so it's important to put the phone down. It's important to have eye contact. It's important to smile. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad took us to the restaurant, and we were on vacation in Lake George, New York, and the waitress looked really frazzled, and he looked at her, and she's like, what can I take your order? And he's like, hi. And it startled her, and she's like, oh. And then she lifted her nose from her notepad, and she looked at us. She's like, oh, hello. She says, how are you doing? She says, I've been working since 6. It's about 9. She says, you're the first person to ask. And so we need to have human contact. It's very, very important. That even just that made the day of that waitress, right? Because this waitress felt seen. In the movie Avatar, they say, I see you. And they don't mean I see your physical body. They mean they see all the way through, inside. The seat of the soul, they see you, who you are. And for that moment, even if it's just a moment, it changes the whole day for that person. So we need to ask ourselves, how do I interact? How do I connect with people? Do I look people in the eye? Do I acknowledge other people's presence? Right? I'm in the line at the supermarket. My cart is full. Someone has 2 or 3 items behind me. I'm able to see that. I'm like, you want to go ahead? You just have a few things. Why don't you go ahead? It'll take me a while. Holding the door for someone. It seems to be a lost art, and people always seem surprised when you're holding the door for them. They go, oh, thank you, right? While they're checking their purse, making sure you're not trying to steal anything from them. It's this personal contact that this chakra helps. So if you have energy there, you're able to be open, you're able to share, you're able to make those contacts. If you're totally anxious and fearful and unable to make these contacts, then the chakra might be blocked. That might be why you're unable to move forward or make connections. Now, I'm going to roll through these chakras. If you have questions, you can put them in comment, and I keep an eye out for them, and I'll keep looking at them. The next one is the solar plexus. The solar plexus is located somewhere around where your stomach is. So you have a central channel, right? So it starts from your head, goes all the way down. Imagine a large tube, and that's where this energy comes in. And then it gets distributed to the chakras. And at the very center of your body, that's where the chakras sit, inside this inner tube. The solar plexus is where the inner child resides. It's also where your uniqueness is. So if you look at the evolution of the chakras, it goes along with the evolutions of humanity, right? So the base chakra is about your food. Imagine the caveman, right? So what did a caveman do? Spend his days looking for food, looking for shelter, trying to keep the fire alive. It was one of the most important jobs in a tribe, was to make sure the fire was still burning, because they didn't quite know yet how to make fire. So if you could have a chance of a fire burning, you had to keep it alive so it wouldn't run out. And so that's what the base chakra is about, is your basic needs. But as we evolved and we realized the nomadic life is not always perfect, because you're always looking for shelter, perhaps if we build a shelter, if we establish ourselves in an area and we build a community, now we're not so subject to storms, cold, and because we can build something. That's when we started agricultural. And with agriculture, comes the help of a community. You live together. There's safety in numbers. And we started creating links. We started building communities. Once these communities are built and there's no longer everybody needs to go hunt and everybody needs to go fish and everybody needs to survive, we realized that some were better at hunting and some were better at fishing and some were better at sewing. And we allowed the members of that community to be more personal, more passionate, and more into their abilities, their gifts, right? So if you're no longer in survival mode, you're able to go into passion mode. You're able to say, well, this is what I like. This is what I'm good at. And so we participate in this community at what we're good at. And that's when the ability to explore the arts or inventions started happening. Because as someone, let's take, for example, someone who, I'm forgetting the word, they would, that's not good. The person that would work metal, right? So they're working metal, but because they can focus on just working metal, then they don't have to focus on hunting and fishing. Then they realize that maybe the metal works better if it's in the hot and cold. And then they make discoveries and technology is developed and things improve. But also their ability, not everybody is good at making a sword. But because this guy makes swords all the time, then his swords are getting really nice. They're really good quality swords because that's what he gets to do because he's passionate about it. And he makes inventions. He makes improvement. That's also when the arts began, right? So before you make clothes because you need to stay warm, but now you have more time to make clothes. You're not so rushed because you have to go fishing, hunting, and taking care of other needs. You develop new stitches. You get more creative. You think you have more time for maybe ornaments and decoration on the clothes, and then comes beadwork and come this and that. And as we evolve, then we discover painting and artists and music, and wow, you're really good at this. So take time to develop your skill and we'll all benefit from it in the community. That's the solar plexus. Solar plexus, one of the ways that you can tell is if you go for an interview for a job. What happens when you go on an interview with a job? You are having to prove yourself to this person to hire you. And so you have to believe in yourself. And if you have doubts about yourself, that's when you feel the butterflies in your stomach, right? And so every time you have stomach aches, butterflies in your stomach, or it's your anxiety rises because you're doubting or you're put in a situation where you're being put to the test. And that's always a little unnerving, right? Even if you're good and even if you know you can do this, it's a test now. So you're like, okay, I know this, but some people don't perform well during tests because this anxiety is so big that it outgrows their ability to answer properly to the answers on the test, right? So every time your abilities, your gifts, your uniqueness is being put in question, that's where it's being affected. So I forgot to mention, but for the base chakra, the organs is the colon, the testes, the vagina. So all of this area is regulated by those organs. Then the sacral is all about the kidneys, the intestines, the bladder as well. And for the solar plexus, which was where we are, it's the stomach, the spleen, the liver, the gallbladder. All of that area is governed by this chakra. When a chakra gets blocked, there's many chakras, many centers of energy that are distributing energy to the organs. But if the channel gets blocked, that's when we develop health issues. That's where we can start having issues with digestion, ulcers, gallbladder stones, and all of those are you can spiritually find the answers by saying, okay, so it's all fed by the solar plexus, and so it's my identity. I have a crisis in the faith of myself and my abilities, my gifts, And so that's what you need to work on. By working on those, you open the chakra of energy to feed into the organs, and then the organs will eat themselves. Then we have the heart chakra. That's the popular one that everybody talks about. It's located in the same, similar to the same place as your actual heart, except it's in the center, not off a little bit. This one is about unconditional love. Unconditional love is not just about you. It's also about others around you. You need to learn to love yourself and to learn to love others unconditionally. So, have you ever heard someone say, I love you, but? So, that but is a condition. I love you, but you're too fat. I love you, but I preferred your hair longer. I love you, but I don't know. Now you're sick and I don't love you anymore. And I prefer you when you're healthy. The chakra works and sends energy for us to learn to love without condition, accepting someone as they are for who they are. A lot of people struggle with that. Why can't they accept me for who I am? I've learned a while ago, if you love me, it's fantastic. If you don't, it's okay. You don't have to stick around. You don't have to, I'm not going to change to please you, because it took me a long, long time to figure out this is who I am, and this is what I look like, and this is what I express myself. This is what I do. So if you don't like that, if you're not happy with that, it's okay, because I don't have to be loved by absolutely everyone. But the people who love me need to love me for who I am. They need to love me unconditionally. And some of you might say, well, that's hard because, I'm not perfect. And that's the whole point. You don't have to be perfect for people to love you. They just need to love you for what you're good at and for what they can support you at getting better at. Someone is like, well, I'm the strong one and I'm not feeling good right now. So people don't like that about me. But you're human. And so you're strong and it's nice. You can be there 95% of the time for them. And the 5% of the time that you need them to be there for you is part of the relationship. It's part of the exchange. Right? So I'm not getting a lot of comments, so I'm just going to keep going. But if you have questions, please just put your questions in the chat lines, and I'll be happy to answer those. And so learning to love unconditionally is loving a baby. That's the best example. Do you care if the baby's nostrils are too big, or their ears are too big, or their legs are not long enough? No, it's a wonderful, healthy baby, and you're just going to love this baby for everything that it is in the moment right now. And so you need to treat yourself the same way you would treat a brand new baby. Right now, in this time and space, you are the person who's been building for years, and you've come this far, and you've improved, and you're better, and you're not dead yet. So people have to love you for the opportunities that may present themselves and for the culmination of what you'll become. So you don't just love the person in the here and now, but you love the possibility about them. You love the ability to learn and change and grow. And that's why it's okay if they're not perfect right now. You don't need to be perfect right now, but you need to love yourself. So, there's experience in life, and you're like, well, that wasn't my proudest moment. And I'm like, that's fine. But what did you learn from that moment? How did that transform you? Did that make you a more honest person, a loving person? We all come with our struggles and our challenges. If we had perfect upbringing and a perfect life, we wouldn't be challenged to grow and change. It's because we experience things that are not pleasant that we want to change. We don't want to be like that anymore. We don't want to live this anymore. And so you have to look at yourself and say, okay, how much of it can I change? How much of it can I transform? And do I need help? Do I need assistance? Can someone help me be a better version of me? And then you can seek help, right? But the whole idea, the whole point in the end is to love yourself and to be able to accept others for who they are. The next heart, the organ obviously is the heart for this one. The next chakra is between the throat and the heart. That's an Egyptian one. It's located right here where I have my tattoo. This particular center is universal love. An example of universal love would be someone who works for their community and not expecting anything in return. Some of those examples are people that transform politics and transform the way of life for an entire community or a country. So we have Nelson Mandela. We have Gandhi. We have the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is a great example. He's unable to be in his country, but he continues to share the love, continues to try and reach people and tell them, you need more laughter in your life. We need less division. We need to be more united. This is the kind of love that universal love is. It's a love beyond judgment, beyond condition. It's a love where you have so much of it that you want to give some. A simpler example is people who volunteer. They give their time. They know they're volunteering. They know they're not getting paid. They're not going to be. There's not going to be a big ad or a big thing saying this person volunteered for us. They're doing it for because it brings them joy, and they're doing it because it brings joy to the others that they're helping. You could be helping in an elderly center. You could be coaching a minor league or soccer team or hockey team. You could be picking up bottles or garbage along the highway. You're not getting rewards for this. You're working hard. You're emotionally involved. Maybe if you're working with children or elderly, and you're not expecting anything other than a smile and a thank you. That's universal love. That is the most pure kind of love that exists, and it sits there. And this is where the division in your body kind of happens. The chakras from the heart down are really related to the physical part of this world. But once you obtain this heart, then we're talking about more outside of the third dimension, because we're going to start going outside of our bodies, and we're outside of our pleasure centers. We're not doing it for our ego. We're doing it for the soul. So that's universal love. This one is regulated with your lungs. And so if you have breathing problem, asthma, allergies are a bit different, but can relate. It's got to do with your ability or inability to be able to be in community and share this love. Then the next one is the throat chakra. The throat chakra is the center of communication. And it's not just located in the throat, because what am I using right now? I'm using my voice. My vocal cords are here, but I'm also using my mouth, my tongue to make these sounds. And it's also my ears, because it's not communication if all I'm doing is talking. That's just me doing presentation. There's no communication there. In order for it to be communication, there has to be also a part of me that listens and hears the replies. Am I being heard? Is what I'm saying being understood? There's no point in being anywhere and talking to someone if you're not talking the same language as them. And sometimes you're both talking English, but you need to be able to have a connection. And that's what communication is about. And it's all located in the throat. So the throat chakra also administered the thyroids, the ears, the ear canal, the back of the throat, the tonsils, the tongue, all of that is got to do with the throat chakra. In my case, because I talk a lot, I do a lot of presentation and I'm talking all the time, my throat chakra isn't blocked, but it's sometimes tired. It's running out of energy because it's being used a lot. It's like you have a battery in your remote and a battery in a remote car, and you're changing the batteries in the remote car a lot more often because the kids play and the batteries run down, as opposed to your remote. You can have a battery in there for 3 years. It's the same thing with the chakras. Some chakras are more utilized and require more energy or more care. So it's important to understand that so if you have a voice extinction, if you're unable to speak anymore, your chakra is depleted. One of the things that I've put in the book is over abused chakra and blocked chakra, which are two different things. If it's blocked, it's just not working. But if it's overused, it just needs to be replenished. We just need to take better care of it or take the time to feed it energy. Then in the chakra system, we have one behind the nose. That is the Egyptian system. I call that one because, the Egyptian term wouldn't mean anything to you, but it translates to the manifestation center, the thought center. So what you're thinking comes from the chakra behind your nose and not that one. That has nothing to do with your thinking pattern. Your thinking pattern is behind your nose. And so it has to do with all your thoughts, because the first action that you do is thinking. You think, I want a glass of water. And then your subconscious goes, okay, so we need to get up. We need to walk to the kitchen. We need to grab a glass. We need to open the tap. We need to pour the water, and then you can drink water. There's these 6 things that happen without us actually thinking about it. But the process of going, I want water, kind of develops a subroutine of things that are going to take place for you to have this water. Your first action is always thoughts. And so what are your thoughts like? What are you thinking about? What is the predominant way of you are thinking? Are you positively thinking, or are you a half empty or half full kind of glass? This right there should tell you where your thinking pattern is. What changes do you need to occur in order for you to live a better life and to live a more positive life? One of the important ladies that I like a lot that passed away recently, Louise Hay, she wrote a book, and in the book she put a lot of affirmations in them. And so the idea is that you repeat this affirmation, and as you repeat the affirmation, eventually you believe it. And then once you believe it, it's automatic. And it could be something like, I'm beautiful, or I'm intelligent, or I can do this, right? Some of us have been told when they were young, you're so dumb, you will never amount to anything. And that became part of our belief system. And because that's part of our belief system, it's really, really hard to say, I can be successful at this, I can learn this, and I'm good at this, because I'll never achieve anything and I'm done. And so Louise Hay says, well, you do the affirmation. I can do this. I'm good. I'm lovable. And she developed several affirmation. And in order for this affirmation to get anchored somewhere, they get anchored in the manifestation center. In order for you to manifest what it is that you're repeating to yourself, the affirmation that you're creating, you need to anchor it somewhere. It needs energy to become movement and not just a fluid thought. And so this is where the affirmation can get anchored and transformed. The color for that one is kind of an aqua color, which is very interesting, because when I do PSYCH-K, which is a method of transformation of belief, the color of the energy behind PSYCH-K is that very color. So I thought very interesting, because I've learned about the 13 chakra system long before I learned about PSYCH-K. And when I learned about PSYCH-K, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because it's all about your thinking, your belief system, and it's that color, that energy that can transform and heal those old thought patterns, those old beliefs that no longer serve you. And it could be something that you heard your parents saying. Well, only the rich people are all crooks, so therefore you can't be rich because you're not a crook, right? And so we need to transform these beliefs. You can still have money without necessarily doing illegal activities or being a crook. So that center is what helps you create change. And so that's a very important center, and it should have energy. It should be active. You should be aware, have awareness that this chakra exists. And then the next one, and that one is the nose. So anything that has to do with sinus, the nose, all of that is got to do with the manifestation center. Then we go to the one that a lot of people know about, the third eye. The third eye, the color is indigo, which is a deep blue with bits of purple in it, right? So it's not a clear blue, but it's not a purple just yet, but it's deep marine with hints of purple in there. The third eye is often mistaken because it's an eye, that's where you get visions from. It's actually your door to communicating with everything outside of the third dimension. So it's what allows you to communicate with past loved ones. That's where the ability of mediumship comes from. Receiving messages can come as images, but it can also come as auditory messages because it has nothing to do with your ears. It just comes in through this center. And so the third eye really is looking beyond the veil that is between the third dimension and the other dimensions. So as you pull the veil and you're able to see what's on the other side, you can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it. A lot of people are feelers. So for example, you walk inside of a room and all of a sudden you feel nauseated or you're starting to get a headache. And then this happens to me every time I go to Costco. Not that Costco is an evil place, but what happens at Costco? People are worried about money, how much it's going to cost. They're spending too much. They need to get out of there. There's always a lineup when you try to get out. And all of that is creating an energy field that, because my third eye is open, I can feel that. So it's not about just seeing this energy. It's also about feeling it and knowing that it's there. So I need to energetically protect myself. I want to go inside of Costco because within 5 minutes, if I don't, I will start getting the headache or I'll start getting angry feelings. It's insane. And so it allows you communication outside the third dimension. So we can talk to angels that way. We can talk to elementals. Elementals can be fairies, gnomes. They can be beings from outer space. Yes, they do exist. And you're allowed to be able to reach out also to your soul group. Everyone has a guardian angel. This guardian angel is particularly a body elemental that lives with you. They're scribes of your life, and they write down everything you do and say and think, because they embody the same space as you. They know all that, and they keep track of that for you. So there's also a group of souls that from lifetime to lifetime, as you switch places with them, you grow as a group. The group would be specific to your spiritual goal, your spiritual what you came here to do on earth, right? So your purpose. And for some, it's teaching. For some, it's medical. So in the medical field, for example, you have doctors, yes, but you have nurses, you have dentists, you have hygienists, you have acupuncture, chiropractor, massage therapy, physiotherapy. All of those are encompassed in the soul group of caring or healing, right? So you also will fit the Reiki healers in there and the shamans in there. So it's a big group, right? You have those that are the teaching. Well, teaching is not just being a teacher. I learned a lot from my coach when I was playing handball. They're teachers as well. Teaching is passing wisdom on to someone else. There's also a group of information, distributing information, keeping everybody up to date. And so from the monks that were copying the Bible to the journalists to the hobbyist streamer online, they distribute information. So we have this soul group, and having our third eye open allows us to be able to communicate with that soul group and be guided in our action to get online and on track with our soul's purpose. So that's what the functions of the third eye is. And then we have the crown chakra. The crown chakra sits on top of your head. And so the best way that it's been described, it's always described the same way. It's like a lotus. So a very, very large flower with big petals, and it's said to have 1,000 petals. But the chakra actually sits at the center of this flower, right? So if you look online later for pictures, what a lotus looks like, at the very center, there's something sitting there, right? So instead of that, you put the chakra there. Why do we have a flower shaped anchoring to this chakra? It's because that's where your energy comes in. That's where your connection to the universe comes in. So the petals are there absorbing more energy than just the very center itself, and then funnels it all down to our central channel. The color for that one is violet, so pale purple. And the function is our connection to the universe. It's essential to be connected. Why? Because we're souls. So this presence on earth is very short-lived. It's very it's a grain of salt in our entire existence, because as a soul we're immortal. We started from the beginning of time, and we've lived until now. We've evolved in different planets, and we are now in an earth incarnation. According to the Buddhist, hell is really on earth, because you keep having to reincarnate and having to learn to eat again, walk again, talk again, to count and to read and work, and eventually remember, oh yes, I'm a spiritual being, so I need to take care of my spiritual body as well. And the achievement of a soul is to eventually being able to break this cycle of reincarnation. And instead of coming back to earth again, you go to nirvana, which for the more Western terms would be paradise, right? So you're in the light, and you're in the presence of Creator, God, Allah, call it whatever you want, and you no longer are suffering. There's no suffering once you get outside your physical body. And that's why the universe gave us those wonderful teachers like Jesus and Buddha and Kuan Yin and Mary Magdalene and many, many, many others like White Buffalo Calf women, to come and keep reminding us, you're more than what meets the eye. Your physical body is a very, very small part of you. You're so much bigger, so much brighter, and you can make so much more change in people's life. If we recognize that we have this ability and we stay connected, we stay guided. And this is why the third eye should be open, so you can receive those messages. And life enters a cycle of synchronicity. And then things go through a certain flow. And you're not swimming against the current anymore. You're actually on the boat, you're floating in a sense of the current. It's nice. But that's when all your chakras are open, your channel is open, and you have lots of energies that is circulating through all of you, feeding all these chakras, keeping everything working fine and alive. Now, we also have the hand chakra. Now, I'm a Reiki master teacher, so most of the energy that we transfer to another person can come from the heart, but most times is directed by the hands. The hand chakra is also how we communicate. You can see my hands are moving all the time, part of the French heritage in me. But also, this is how we shake hands to people. This is how we lend a helping hand. This is how we do sign language. And so all of those come from this part of our body. It's our link to the rest of the community. This is where we merge from ourselves to being in contact with someone else. Even with a phone, if you didn't have hands, it's complicated to call somebody or text somebody, communicate with somebody. Your hands, why is it deep purple? Because it's being fed from your communication center, which is light blue, down the arms, as well as your universal love, because it has to be outside of you. And so the mixture of the blue and the pink together create the purple. Your hands is the link to the outside. It's your way to be able to share, to touch someone's heart through your action, right? So it doesn't even have to be a physical touch, but your hands are the key to living outside of yourselves and being able to reach out. So we are not meant to be living on our own in isolation. Isolation isn't bad. Once in a while, being a hermit looking at how we've been acting and which direction we're going, it's a good time to pull back and be a hermit for a short while. But we're not meant to be hermits for our entire lifetime. There's an old story that I was taught by a Tibetan monk, and he says this man was determined to be able to become wise. And so he went to the mountain range and he visited all the caves looking for a specific master that he heard was fantastic. And he wanted to be able to be a disciple of this master, of this wise man, and learn from him, because he wanted to transform his life and he wanted to live a pious life. And so he goes to the mountain, and the different masters that he meets there are not this man. And he finally gets to a certain cave, and the man says, "Oh, I know him. You won't find him here. He lives in the city." He says, "Here's his address. He's really nice. Just go talk to him." So this young man travels to the city and he follows the direction, and he arrives to this very nice house. He says, "That's got to be wrong." He says, "Why would the master live in a nice house?" So he knocks on the door, and there goes the gentleman, and he answers the door, and that's the master he's looking for, dressed in nice clothes and a little bit overweight maybe, or a little bit of a pot belly. And the man says, "No, this is all wrong. This isn't what I'm looking for." And so he leaves there, goes back to the cavern of the man that sent him there, and he says, "Can I be your student?" And he says, "Sure." But he says, "Wouldn't the great master take you as on his student?" He says, "Well, I don't want to learn from him. He lives in a big house and he has fancy clothes." And he says, That's not what I came here to learn." He says, "You don't understand." He says, "I'm still striving to detach myself from my my need to have beautiful things." He's not attached to them, so it doesn't matter. The moral of the story is, you can't trust appearances. You have to get to know who the person are. And if the person is living according to their belief system, then there's something to learn from them. Detachment is one of the toughest things that we can learn in this lifetime. And the hand chakra is a nice way to work through this detachment. And so now, how can we? I'm going to take. Does anybody have questions about the chakra? No? Okay. So if you don't have any questions, we'll move on to what do we do if a chakra is blocked? In the book, I go through each and every chakra and the symptoms of a blocked chakra. But as a general rule, if you're sick, if you're anxious, if you're depressed, if things are not happy, unicorns and rainbows, then it's possible that something has been blocked somewhere, right? And in the book, I describe the different activities that you can do to help restore the health to your chakras. One of the things that each of the chakras have a specific color, and you can meditate with this color. You can imbue yourself in this color, and you can wear it as your clothes. Or some people are saying, "Well, I can't paint a room red." Fine, because you're in an apartment, you don't have money for paint. It's all good. But you can go to the dollar store and get a bunch of construction paper, pull all the reds one out, and make a big, huge square. When I was in a Tibetan monastery meditating, we were sitting on the floor, and we had I'd say maybe 3 feet by 3 feet square in front of us, and we had to stare at this white wall. You can do the same thing, but instead of staring at a white wall, if it's your sacral chakra that's blocked, then you can take all the orange and make yourself a square where you can meditate in front of it by looking at this color, orange, for example, and then looking at what comes to the surface while you're immersing and connecting with the orange color on the wall. This works because the orange activates your chakra. If your chakra is blocked, then you will see, is it a mental issue, a spiritual issue, or an emotional issue? And it will come to the surface. That's the first part. Once you identify what the issue is, then you have to find a solution for it and apply the solution so the blockage will go away. And this is where people complain about the homework because they're like, "Oh, so it's not just staring at the orange that's going to solve the issue." No, but at least staring at the orange tells you what the issue is. And then from there, you can find a solution. right? Some people are like really anxious. I'm not feeling well, and then they go to the doctor, and they might not always get a good answer, but they're usually a certain relief to saying, okay, now I know what's wrong. Now I can work on that. Well, it's not just valid just for your physical body, it's also valid for your emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body, and also etheric body. And so that's one of the ways. So if you're working in a cubicle at work, you're not allowed to wear scent. So aromatherapy wouldn't work for you there, but you could print yourself a beautiful picture of yellow roses, for example, if you're working on your solar plexus. No one is going to say anything about you having an image of a ton of yellow roses on an image. Having the yellow color in your periphery will activate your solar plexus. And therefore, once your plexus is activated, it helps lend support and energy to it. And even though if it's not completely unblocked, at least the color is present and it's supporting your chakra. Wearing more color is a lot of people are wearing black on black on black. Well, and they're like, well, I can't go buy a whole new wardrobe. I don't have money to change my everything I own. And I agree with you. However, you could buy a scarf, you could buy gloves, you could buy a new purse, you could rearrange a few accessories that are present in your peripheral vision that helps activate and generate energy for that particular chakra. Another way as well is the food that you're eating. Certain food will activate certain chakras. So certain chakras will be given more energy or reinforced in their frequency, the energy frequency of them, and by eating certain fruits or vegetables. One of the things that will lower any chakras are things that are low vibration. So anything that is manufactured, right? So everything that comes in a plastic and it's been sitting there and it somehow will survive a nuclear war, and 30 years from now you can still eat it, it'll still stay the same. Those lower your frequency. All types of meat will lower your frequency. Alcohol definitely lowers frequency. Drugs shadow your frequency. So taking care of all of your bodies through your chakras also happens through your daily life, through the food intake. And certain food will promote certain chakras, right? Then, what do we have? We have aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is an ancient method that was active in Lemuria. They used to take different flower essence and use the flower essence to heal the body because of the smell carried by these different flowers would activate different chakras. So there's a lot of different smells that can be used for many different chakras. Ylang, for example, is a popular essential oil. And the reason why it's popular is because it works with multiple chakras. So it's not because there are 13 chakras that you necessarily need to have 13 different essential oils. Some oils will work with different areas of you. The book lists them all. And just having this aromatherapy, so the diffuser or wearing a necklace with lava beads or a bracelet with lava beads and putting some drop of oils. It's different than perfume because perfume emanates. It fills the space around you. Sorry, excuse me. Essential oil don't tend to evaporate the same way. They tend to be very localized. Sorry. And so you can smell your bracelet and you'll have to bring it to your nose because it won't spread. But the scent remains on the lava beads, so you're able to wear it all day. If you're at home, you can put a diffuser in the bedroom. It's never going to harm you. You can put one in the office. We have one in this office. You can put one in the washroom. Certain oils are better to wake you up, motivate you, as opposed to certain oils will allow you to be more peaceful, less anxious, and therefore promote sleep.
or help you with your insomnia. So you can't just put just any oil at any time of the day, just anywhere, right? So do a little bit of your research. My brother called me and he's like, it's not working. I'm like, well, what's not working? He says, well, I'm putting the citrus smell in my room to go to sleep at night and I can't sleep. No, because that citruses are about awakening and about alerting your senses. So that's the worst place you can put it is beside your bed. But to release insomnia and help with the sleep, we can use lavender oil. This is wonderful. They're usually softer scent, more flowery than fruity. And so that's one way to activate the chakras. A chakra that is blocked, it's a little bit like a toilet, right? You're going to plunge it and then it's going to finally flush. Well, it's the same idea. Is you strengthen your chakras with energy by realigning their frequency, then you will kind of jumpstart it again. And so aromatherapy is a great way to either support your chakra or jumpstart them if they're low on energy. Another way that we can work at healing the chakras is yoga positions. Yoga positions are great because they're using movement in order to get things moving again and allowing the movement to be also affecting the chakras. There are specific poses for specific chakras. So different pose will work in a very specific area of your body, allowing the expansion, allowing to create space for the chakra to expand, feel more energy. Now, what is the fastest and best way to get energy straight into the chakras? There's two ways. First, you give yourself a Reiki or you go see someone who will give you Reiki. What is Reiki? Reiki is the energy that your chakra needs to be pumping. It's like getting a blood transfusion, basically. It won't solve the problem long term. If you want a long term change, you yourself have to stop doing what's causing the blockage. So there's personal work involved. However, if you're so depleted or you're so tired, the Reiki treatment will be beneficial to your chakras because they'll be filled with energy and it can get you into motion again. It's like someone who's very depressed and they take antidepressant because they're so low that they can't move. They're stuck. They're in the tar pit and they can't move. Taking temporary medication to overcome depression allows them to start having other thoughts, feeling like they should go out, meet people. And that is the change that is required for the long lasting effect, right? So the Reiki is the same thing. And the other one is meditation. The idea of meditation is that it takes different shapes, different forms. Some meditations are there to enhance your focus. So rather than people thinking, oh, you do meditation to clear your mind, in this one, you're there to actually focus your mind, enhance your power of thinking. So the meditations for the chakras, you can do the whole chakra clearing. There's another YouTube videos that I created so that you can follow the YouTube video and do a chakra meditation, which are apparently very, very good from all the comments I'm getting. Everybody's really happy with those. Or you can focus on a particular chakra at the time. So when a chakra is blocked, you're trying to work out what is blocking me, what is stopping me from moving forward. Why am I not able to fix this? And so I have 13 different meditations in the book to allow you to work on the chakras that you feel it needs the most help. My recommendation as a shamanic practitioner is that eventually you do all of 13 chakras and you make sure that all 13 are open, functioning well, and this energy is circulating. But you can start with the most problematic one. It's not because we name them in a certain sequence that necessarily you have to follow that sequence when you're working on yourself. Go where you feel it the most. And since our body are made of energy, our bodies are made of atoms, right? The atoms are pure energy. Yet, we are given a physical form because the density of these atoms makes us thick. Water is less dense, so you can put your hand through the water. That's how you can understand density. If something is very dense, your hand doesn't go through. If something is not so dense, your hand can go through. And so, because we're made of energy, frequency affects us. If you listen to loud, heavy metal, angry, shouting music, it's going to affect your body and your chakra. Because just like your heart, right? Your heart has a certain rhythm to it. When you look at it and all these medical shows you see on TV, there's a monitor beside the bed and you see the heartbeat, right? It has a certain rhythm to it. However, if you're listening to heavy metal music, a lot of screaming, if you're in an environment where there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of screaming, if you're watching shows that are violent, all of those are creating a frequency. And that frequency kills off the beat of your chakras. So if your chakra is supposed to be harmonious and follow a certain wave, and this music comes and discords this, that's when we create a dis-ease, okay? Or we're not at ease anymore. And so this shift in frequency, if you're often inside those environments, it almost becomes your new heartbeat, your new chakra rhythm, and it's off. One of the easiest way to restore the frequency, and it works because I do this all the time, and I'm lucky enough that I have Christine Pell, who is my business partner, who does a magnificent jewelry for me. So when I come up with an issue, I'm like, okay, so I'm going through menopause, and she researched which crystals would restore the best frequency for that. She makes me a bracelet for it. If someone has eye anxiety, she created a bracelet for it. What this does is crystals are conscious being, by the way, and they hold a frequency. And because they don't have to, I guess, pay bills every month, they don't have to go to work and be stuck in traffic, they don't have all of these things, they just are, magnificent as they are, they can hold frequency. This frequency works specifically with different chakras, because different chakras have different frequencies. So we're able to target some specific crystals and work on a specific frequency to allow us to be able to restore our original frequency. So if you have questions, please just type your questions. And so therefore, working with crystals is another way to realign and rebalance all of your chakras. So again, some stones work better because if you don't have a lot of money, some stones work with several different chakras. Depending on what your means are, or what you have laying around the house, or what you can find, different crystals will have different properties. Like this one negates all the magnetic field being created by the laptops and the phones and everything else I have around me. And then this one here, this one helps grounding, and it helps work with creating connections. And so we have different crystals, either wear them as jewelry or we have them specifically in certain areas of the house to try to negate negative energy. So right now, I'm not listening to anything violent or anything negative. However, the two phones and the laptop together are creating a lot of energy themselves, magnetic energy, and it's disturbing my magnetic field. And so the crystals are helping blocking these vibration and allowing me to not be affected, even though I'm in front of all of these different screens in front of me. What else are we going to talk about? Mudras. Mudras are hands position that we can work with. So especially if you are working on your hand chakra, mudras are fantastic. Different mudras are allowing us to tap into different energy. Different energy, again, have a frequency which affect the chakras. This is how it works, right? It all goes from energy, creating frequency, frequency being thrown out of balance or out of sync, and us working to create the original frequency, restoring the perfect balance, the perfect wave. So for each of the different chakras, again, there's different mudras. So for example, for the base chakra, a simple joining of the index and the thumb and opening up the fingers. And then you will rest your hands on your lap while you're meditating, or while you're riding the bus, or if you're a passenger in the car. So it doesn't have to be that you have to pull yourself out of time to create more space to do more of this work. You have to integrate it into your everyday life. If you feel your anxiety rising at this particular moment, then make sure that you, I don't know, take a picture of the image and then save it on your phone. Then you'll open your phone and go, okay, my fingers have to be this way, and just rest them on your lap. While you're in a meeting, before a presentation, mudras can be applied all the time. And if someone asks you, you're just saying, I'm stretching my fingers, I'm stretching my hand. Or if they're open enough to understand the true explanation, you're like, this is kind of hand yoga. It's called mudra, and it's helping my hands, my energy in my hands. The different position are in this the hardcover. The reason why we published this one is because inside you have the yoga position and you have the mudras, and at the end here you have an appendix of almost 100 pages of over 200 different crystals, listing all the crystals, what they're good for, and which chakra are they relating to. And within the chapters of the chakras, we also name the crystals. So yeah, if there's a crystal there, that what does that look like? You're able now to flip to the back and find a picture. Those are all crystals that we have here. And that's, so if it's not on the list, simply because we didn't have it at home and we couldn't take a picture of it, but we have 225, I think, different crystals and pictures and explanation and links. Crystals also can be amplified. You amplify the energy of a crystal by putting, hello Frank, by putting them in a crystal grid. So you have your crystal grid, you're laying your crystals on top of it. Again, make sure the crystals don't work against one another, right? The frequency line up together. And you allow, the intention is you're allowing this energy being built up by several crystals working together from this crystal grid to be sent to that particular solution you're looking for. Crystals can be used for so many things because they are linked to the third dimension, right? They exist in this link to the third dimension. And so anything that relates to third dimension, they're glad to be of help. One of the example I have is I was looking for, my sister has a crystal grid and she's having a hard time selling her house. I said, okay, did you ask crystal grid to help you? She's like, can it do that? I was like, sure, because a house is in the third dimension. So she was suffering from anxiety and stress from the house not selling, but she asked the help from the crystals, and the crystals cleared the way out. And 2 weeks later, her house was sold. She used the same system to buy the new house or her new location. There's many, many ways in that allows us to use the things that are around us. They're not here for no reason. But most of the time we buy crystals because, I don't know, it's in fashion right now. This one is pretty. I like this one. But there's more to it than that. And their abilities to help us heal is real. So the ones that just, someone's asking, why are you wearing these ones? So these ones are particularly addressing karma. So allowing me to, whenever I face a situation that links myself to a different karma, I'm able to use the energy from the crystal to clear the karma. And so it's easy, it's simple. And one of my purpose that I came into this life for was to clear all the karma that no longer serves me. So I get presented with a lot of situations, a lot of different people, and it wakes up things in me, and it allows me to process this without getting caught in the wheel of karma again and repeating the same mistakes that I used to do. So this is what this one is for. Those ones are for specifically. And then what else do we have? Yes. When we were at the solar plexus, I was talking about this is a point where humanity developed the arts, developed individuality, styles, inventions, creation. That came from our solar plexus. It comes from our passion and being able to bring our uniqueness to what's already in the community. And then the heart chakra is something that is still, I mean, it's still a problem in some places around the world where there's arranged marriage or they marry for purpose and not for love. But this, for a long time, getting married for love was a benefit of the poor because the poor didn't have any, didn't have any possessions, so they just married for love. But for the longest time, the marriage were arranged to gain power, to gain security, to gain an army, to bring peace between warring countries. And so we transformed that. We evolved. We grew. And then people came and we realized that it's more than just us. When there's and we live in a global time right now where we can hear the news of a earthquake in Nepal or where the fires in Hawaii, and we're able to help reach out and send goods and send help or go there ourselves and help to reestablish things. So this ability to think outside ourselves can only come once our basic needs are met. Once we know that we have everything we need and more, then that more can be shared. It can be distributed. It's something that, as a community, Aboriginal people understood well, and it's something that needs to be reinstored. That, along with the purpose for the elders, and also one of the important things that stopped happening along the lines of our history is that there used to be a coming of age time, a time when you were no longer a girl, you were a woman, and a time where you were no longer a boy, but a man. You were given responsibilities, you were given a role in the community. And that sort of has been lost, unfortunately. And it's sad because our youths need to find purpose. They need to find belonging. They need to know I'm important because I'm part of this, at this, and I can bring good to the greater good. And my life matters. What I do matters. I was receiving a vision the other day, and it was about someone who was doing picking up garbage, and he didn't feel like he was doing anything useful to society. I can assure you that in a society where there's no one picking up the garbage, society stops. And it creates disease and it creates a whole bunch of problems. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be earth shattering, but it can be your contribution outside of yourself to give that way. And so, in order to do that, you need to have the energy for it. You need to be balanced for it, and you need to be anchored on this dimension. And you need to have those chakras open. You need to be receiving message. You need to be receiving guidance. You need to be connected. So the chakras are literally at the base of all that. And so that's why I wrote the book on it. But that's also why I'm sharing this with you today in this podcast. Because through the different fairs and workshops and presentations and conferences I've attended, I've had people say to me, wait, what are chakras? And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking maybe I should go back to basics and start explaining the basics. So the series of podcasts that I'm doing this fall is about basic things, explaining things that I take for granted because I've done them for so long. I've been meditating with chakras since I was 14. So decades later, to me, I was thinking, well, everybody knows about chakras. I don't need to talk about that. I can talk about something else. Apparently not. So I welcome all of you beginners who are curious to find out about how your body works and how to make yourself healthier and better. And becoming conscious about the fact that you have chakras, and just like your heart, we exercise, we eat better, we eat less fat, we take care of arteries, we've become aware that of all of those things for our physical heart need to be taking place so we live long, happy, healthy lives. Well, in the same sense, the podcast is to encourage you to become aware that you have all these other wheel of energy in your body, of these pumping energy centers that also need to be looked after, taken care of, re-energized, and cleared. So that brings me pretty much to the end of my podcast. Is there any questions? Does anybody want to comment, say anything? Please, I know you're watching. I can see the counts out there, but you've been so quiet and so well behaved during this podcast. No? Okay. Well, for more information, I do have a workshop. The workshop is a three-day workshop. We talk about the chakras, go in details, and then we practice the meditations, we practice the mudras, and we also learn how to connect our energy and how to transfer energy and all that. So if you want to know more and you want to know the techniques and how to apply all of this that you're learning, the workshop is a great way to do it. If you're interested in buying the books are on Amazon. And so you can find them on Amazon, look for me as an author or look for the title, or you can simply go to my website, www.soniahawa.com. And from there, just go to the store and find the books you're interested in, and the link will link you straight to Amazon. It can be ordered all over the world. So we've worked really hard to give you a quality product, something that is complete information-wise. I've had to research about 20 different books and my personal knowledge and experience to create this book. So instead of buying 20 different books, we put it in one and we made it simple, easy to follow, and hopefully a great tool that can be used. And this works as much for men, women, elderly, women. If you're pregnant, it doesn't harm anything. You can't do too much. All the different techniques are explained. You don't have to do all different, the 9 different techniques that I explained to unblock your chakra. You can just work with the one that works the best for you. So it's something that you do at your own rhythm. We have also a companion book that's going to come out with, going to have lots of exercise, personal exercise to unblock the chakras. We've been very busy this summer with the retreats. We're offering retreats now, and we've had a lot of people all summer for June and July and beginning of August. So the writing took a side, unfortunately, but winters are quiet in Drumheller. So we should get some writing done and some exercise book published to allow you, if you can't come in person or come to the retreats or take the workshops, at least there'll be a workbook. And the workbook's going to be built so that you can work on your own time and on your own. So they'll have all the tools in the workshop book. And we hope to see you again next week. We will have interesting topics because this series is all about the questions you asked, the things you wanted to know. So we're having one on Reiki, we're having one on dragons, we're having one on consciousness level, and we're going to finish the series with a podcast on narcissism. A lot of people are becoming aware of what narcissism is, and it's not just a bad person, it's an actual disease. And how can we work with overcoming a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic spouse? So hopefully you keep watching. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so we don't have to host a YouTube channel from the office, and we can host you all over the place. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go to the YouTube channel and click us there. Even if you don't watch the YouTube videos, it doesn't matter. We just need 1,000 clicks. And once we get there, then we can host the video show anywhere. So I won't be stuck to my chair. And also, if you're in Drumheller area, please join us. We're doing them live. And so we have an audience, and we take live questions at the same time. So for those of you who are shy and not asking questions online, well, maybe the people in the audience can help clarify things and support all of you through being present. So I thank you very much, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.